This has to be one of the weirdest games I have shown on my channel so far. I mean, just to frame this, in a single hour of play, I got into a fight with my guide over bumping into her from behind, got attacked by a mimic catgirl in the middle of town after she dropped out of the sky, fought a giant slime in a hidden cave that I stumbled upon, did a random jumping puzzle in a tower, got extorted by a clone of the guide I talked about at the beginning for 1,000 gold after she demanded I touch her butt, got an achievement for quote unquote fresh ass armor, and finally nearly got, again, quote unquote strangled by a monster girl while breathing underwater. Now if that ain't a way to start a game, I don't know what is. But hopefully this game isn't really, blowing its load too early though. Now I would love to tell you at least the setup for this game, but I got nothing. So if there is a story, it's further down into the game than my little test run got. What I can tell you is that the game does open up asking you if you are a boy, a girl, neither, and asking you your skill level at video games before cracking a joke at your answers regardless of what they were, and dropping you into the starting area with some strange chick dressed only in a tsukumizu, aka the Japanese schoolgirl swimsuit. That's your Japanese lesson for the day, boys and girls. Now I kid you not, I spent almost 10 minutes straight in this 8x8 room just looking at how much random detail is in this game, because there is plenty. You can bounce on the beds, get into fights with NPCs, push around certain things, cut down grass with your attacks, and a little bit later, I found out that you can actually get empty bottles in your inventory, and when you take water-based damage, they fill up. Like, who does that? Fighting NPCs was a hilarious little experiment in itself, since so many things can set them off, but none of them were actually unreasonable. It's not like simply bumping into them starts a fight. You have to go out of your way to do things like insulting them during dialogue, jumping on their heads multiple times as they complain, or even, and this is the weirdest part of all, patting them on the butt. Yes, this game does have a bit of a fan service side to it, and one of the weirdest ways that shows itself is when you walk into an NPC, male, female, old and young, from behind, it results in them reacting like you smacked them on the ass. There are other fan service elements in the writing, like a shopkeeper who only ends up selling you guessed it, tsukumizu, and the monster designs themselves being mostly monster girls bouncing around. It doesn't go too far though, because while it does have items like clothing dissolving slime, that seems to be flavor text only because all it did was bind my target in a single spot. Not so much fan service, but good for gameplay, and that always takes priority. But gameplay, almost forgot to talk about that because of the craziness I was exposed to in this game. Now, I do think anyone who decides to play this game is going to need to get adjusted to the controls. Hakoniwa is entirely isometric, but while your character can move in all 8 directions, your attacks only seem to animate on the left or right side. Now I'm not saying the hitbox for said attack is limited to 2 directions. Those are fine and you can hit an enemy in a full 360 degrees around you, but the animation, at least for some of these weapons, seems to be limited to 2 sides. Not helping this annoying design decision is the fact that some enemies have some sort of delay when hitting them, and I have no idea why. But to be honest, none of that is a deal breaker, it just requires a little getting used to. Finally, I do want to point out the visuals of this game. It is beautiful, but I did find myself losing my character at times in all the moving pixel animations, especially when he went behind something and object transparency got thrown into an already kinda confusing mix. What was even harder to get adjusted to though was the map size. Most stages are split into multiple smaller pieces, and when walking to the edge of a piece, it moves you to the next without confirmation. Some fights where I was trying to, maintain some level of mobility did have me accidentally triggering a stage transition and break the fight, but much like the visuals, I'm not willing to call this a flaw just yet. Not in the first impressions. I'm gonna have to wait for the full review before I make a judgment on that. And yes, this is a great time to, end this little spotlight, because yes, after I finish the Vampyr review,
2,000 years later,
Hakoniwa Explorer Plus will be the next requested review. I am going to work on the Kohime Inbu video on the side because, you know, someone actually did request that in the comment section. But this is the next official one, so look forward to that. This game is looking pretty fun at a glance, so I'm really hoping that, like I said earlier, it didn't burn through all of its creative ideas in the first hour. But time will tell. As far as for now, I will see you guys next time.